Let's get started, everyone. Thank you for joining. I still see participants coming in, and that's okay. I believe this is a very friendly call. Everyone should know me, but just in case there's anybody on the outside, I'm Alan Wang. I'm operating principal of new Keller Williams Santa Clara Valley office in Santa Clara. And also I run the Alan Wang Realty Group as well, and the real estate side of the house. Today, I wanted to cover the shelter-in-place ordinance and what it means for the real estate industry. And I call it a little bit of fallout because it's definitely been a turbulent couple of weeks, but I believe we can make some basically headway and just figure out how to navigate the new waters that we're in. That's the goal of today's meeting, is to understand where real estate is in the picture of shelter in place and proceed from there, both as an agent or if you're a buyer or a seller. It's all relevant. So the topic is going to be relevant, okay? If you are worried about missing anything, do not. This will be posted online shortly after the meeting. So do not worry about taking too many notes. We will have you covered. First disclaimer, this is the first time we've actually taught a class outside of KW in this manner. So I want to make it very clear, this is an educational video in nature. Opinions are really of mine. You may be with a different brokerage. Feel free to consult with your broker or your real estate tax or legal representative on your specific use case. These are my opinions on the subject, and feel free to do your research as needed for your use case, okay? I believe the majority of people are in our office, so it should be fine, but just in case there's anybody external, that's for you. Here's the agenda. First things first, I do want to talk about the coronavirus and COVID-19 and us as a community. General updates overall. Of course, real estate updates. Transactions that are in pending status. Those are critical right now to figure out how to take those transactions and move them into pending or to sold status, more importantly. How do we do that? And then also, how do we navigate this environment, this selling and buying environment, in this strange situation we're in where we cannot leave our homes? How do we manage that? And then the last question, the last item I wanted to cover is, as a realtor specifically, what kind of disaster planning should we be doing for our own businesses as well? Okay. First things first, I want to say this. This is something we've seen before as far as a pandemic that crosses borders, that is easily transmitted the way it has been, as quickly as it has. So this is something that, if you notice, China being the first case, what they've been trying to do by locking down different cities is flatten the curve. That's what they're calling it, flattening curve. What does that mean? Flattening curves means if we can keep people in, away from each other, a good distance away, social distancing, we can basically not overwhelm our healthcare systems. Okay, with cases in what's happening in Italy right now, where people they're deciding who lives and dies because there's not enough beds, not enough ventilators, and this is not good. We have figured out as a society, if we can stay in, sacrifice all the things that we usually typically do, we can actually get ahead of this curve and there'll be less deaths, that the healthcare system can actually handle the load this way. So this is why this is really important. We all need to do our part, including us as realtors. We need to do our part. And as you're seeing, you're probably hearing on the news, China's starting to flatten out, and they're starting to go back to lives as they're trying to get back to their normal lives now. So there is a potential short-term light at the end of the tunnel. But if you look at China's graph, this is a 3-month period of time. So I would just, looking at Korea as well, where they're starting to flatten out as well. 2 to 3 months possibly of our situation right now, but potentially more. I mean, we don't know, okay? But we need to do our part, otherwise we're going to lose this battle. And again, looking ahead of us, I mean, Italy is the worst case right now. Spain is ramping up. The US is not far behind in different countries as well. Iran's been struggling also. So we're all in this as a society. So something to just be aware of, okay? Well, let's talk about general updates. First things first, locally, you all remember March 17th, we were asked to stay in as a county, and they had set a tentative date of April 7th. The state, about a few days later, also asked us to shelter in place on the 20th. And the last date they had was for April 17th. I personally don't know that these dates they're just targets, I believe. I would not be surprised if they were extended. So plan ahead. I wouldn't bet on these dates if I were anybody right now. I mean, California is one of the first to do this. The rest of the country has not caught on yet. So we have to, they're still slowly rolling this out in different places. These are tough decisions. These are tough decisions, right? I mean, to shut down basically your local economy is not an easy decision to make. And I think more and more, I think people are realizing how serious the situation is. We all know this, but there's major economic impact. Pretty much hourly workers, the restaurants, anyone that owns a restaurant, small business, beverages, et cetera, have been hit, and they've had to do layoffs or shut down completely. Small business, which we are likely considered small business, we're also feeling the impact. For many of us, perhaps our expenses are not as high, so we may not feel it as quickly, but you will feel the pinch, given that we can't go out and work either. Medium corporations will feel it as well, and large corporations are feeling it. They may have a little bit more runway, but they will feel it in different ways, either stock prices or revenue, different items. Perhaps they have a little bit more reserves than the normal person, but they will feel the impact on their earnings, that's for sure. We've lost over 30% of our wealth, specifically in the stock market, especially most of the Silicon Valley. They have their all of their equity in stocks, and 30% loss in wealth just right there. And that's an enormous impact as well on them, and also on the ability to purchase real estate. That's going to be an issue going forward. And I think we're learning more and more that we're not just one country sitting here and independent of everyone else. We're in a global economy. We depend on each other. Every country does, despite what we think or say about it. We are all intertwined. And so when one economy goes down, the other one does too. We are interconnected in many ways, whether we sell goods to them, whether we import goods from someone else, or vice versa. We are a global economy. Okay, this impacts everybody. Some little bit of good news is this is from my accountant, Wheeler Accountants. There is a tax extension that was put out. So those of you, the filing deadline went from April 14th, but you could request an extension all the way to October 15th if you like. The Treasury has said if you owe less than $1 million in taxes, you have until July 15th. Give me a second here, the internet stabilizing. You have until July 15th to pay, which is nice, without penalty this year. So that's a little bit of a breather for those of you that were planning to have a hefty tax bill on April 15th. A little bit more time to pay and a little bit more time to file. Estimated taxes have also been pushed to July 15th as well, which is nice. California, it looks like they pushed to June 15th, which is a little strange. I wish they would have matched the dates, but they didn't. But still, that's still an extension. I mean, I'll take it, right? A couple months to weather through what we're going through here, which is some positive news for you. So obviously check with your CPA on the details of what I got from my accountant. All right, the real estate piece. What's going on with real estate? From what I'm hearing, the property taxes are not going to be extended. So if you know that the current installment of taxes are due on April 10th, and I have not heard an extension on that. I did see a news article, potentially they might waive late fees, but I don't know that for a fact. So I'll definitely check with the county's assessor's office for now. But make sure you tell your clients to pay that bill, because that is not being extended. Another thing that I've been personally noticing in the last couple of weeks, when we were still able to have open houses and have people see houses, the homes that were on the market, a lot of buyers were getting cold feet. I mean, they put in the offer, they were either first or second place, and then you would tell them, hey, you won, and they would be getting nervous. And again, it's hard to blame anybody in this situation. So if you have a listing that's still kind of left over from that last batch right now, and there's still buyers circling around, make sure you ask that agent, and then also have them talk to their clients about this, because it's understandable if they're nervous, but what you don't want to do is to get into contract with them with your listing and they get nervous right away, right? And perhaps there's somebody that is more ready to do that. Buyers are also not paying top dollar right now. You can imagine they're the ones that are offering are not going all out like they were 2 weeks ago. Right? They're not doing that. I mean, you can imagine why. They're not going to pay that peak price 2 weeks ago. The world has changed. So they are coming in, but they are going for a slight discount at the moment. So that's what I've been noticing on my listing side. Obviously, the sellers are nervous too. So sellers are motivated. They want to get out ASAP, because we don't know how long this is going to go for. If they're a smart seller, they would think about that. If they're just stubborn and holding on, that's understandable. You can wait. But the ones that need to sell now, they're willing to make a deal. So just keep that in mind, that everybody's a little bit nervous right now. Okay. The notice was put out as to what is an essential business. So if you look at this photo on the right here, this JPEG from what department is this? the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, these are critical infrastructures listed here. In our industry, what's critical? Banks, which includes lending, title and escrow, and then also the county recorder's office, which they were closed, and now they decided that they're planning to do e-recordings, which is excellent. Expect a delay though on the e-recording. So if you're signing today, funding tomorrow, and then 3 days from now closing, that closing might be a little bit delayed due to the e-recording. So bear that in mind. From my understanding, title and escrow, they're still allowed to send out their mobile notaries. Today I saw this for the first time. There was a health questionnaire that the seller is supposed to fill out before they send out that mobile notary, and it asks them those screening questions, the same ones you get when you walk into the hospital or any healthcare question. Have you traveled? Any fevers, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's their way of trying to protect the mobile notaries. But that is still going on, okay? Now, non-essential, at least I'm hearing mixed reviews. Some banks are saying appraisers are non-essential. Some banks are not saying that yet. I'm hearing some appraisers are charging double and they'll still go. I don't know what the right or wrong answer is, but I don't think they technically fit into this chart here, in my opinion. But that is potentially one of the biggest risks for us running anything in pending transactions is the appraiser, okay? And also, by the way, we realtors are non-essential at all. So if you're out showing homes or trying to do an open house, that is all not allowed. So should not be out and about. We are non-essential for now. I know Tam, our broker/OP, is also trying to fight a battle with the association and the governor's office to see if we can make realtors essential. You can argue it both ways, but right now it's non-essential. So you should not be out and about. If a police officer is about to find you out there, I believe you will get a fine and potential other penalties after that. So be aware of what you're doing. Stay at home, be safe, okay? I know it's hard. New contracts. This is definitely, if you're able to write a new contract, even in our current state, first things first is a coronavirus addendum. The California Association of Realtors put out a version of this. In summary, there is one clause that allows extension of time of 30 days automatically after any other timelines have been missed, and extending that for 30 days. And at the end of 30 days is a decision that basically the buyer or seller can cancel the transaction without penalty. The buyer gets their deposit back. Personally, I think that's a pretty good document, but it depends on who you're looking at, okay? This document is not great for sellers, if you think about it, because as a seller, traditionally, if the buyer has released their contingencies, there is no out, right? You can certainly extend time, but there is no out for the buyer. This coronavirus addendum provides the buyers an out. If things cannot move because of quarantine or anything to do with shelter in place, or vendors can't go out, et cetera, that it gives them an out as well. And then, but on the flip side, if you're a seller, there's all cash offer waiting for you and you want to take it, you kind of want that out as well, right? Unfortunately, the odds of that might be kind of low right now. The buyer you have is probably the best one you're going to have. So the sellers aren't really wanting to sign a coronavirus addendum. What some sellers have come up with from other brokerages is that they have created their own coronavirus addendum. And it's, what I've seen, at least the one I've seen, is it kind of keeps the buyer in indefinitely with a very vague date. So you need to read these and make sure that it protects your client. In our case, our buyers were okay with it, but they wanted to put a timer on it. So they put an end date on top of their addendum. So that way there was some kind of end to it, not a perpetual dragging on, because we don't know how long this is going to go on for. So definitely, I mean, talk to your broker, talk to the lawyers, and make sure that whatever you're writing and you're reading, make sure it protects whichever side you're on, and try to come up with something that both sides can live with and they understand the pros and cons. It's definitely new. Everyone doesn't like new. I understand that. Change is hard. So people are not liking, a lot of people are nervous about this addendum because they don't know really what it means, but you really should put this or something equivalent into your contract to protect everybody, okay? Especially your client, whether that's the seller or the buyer. Appraisal timelines, those are potentially the biggest risk in any new contract you're running. If the appraisers are not allowed out at all, then you're going to need to have a much longer appraisal time. I'm having banks going, we don't know the timelines. So our team's been writing anything as long as 30 days and expecting to extend it if the appraiser cannot go out. I still have some appraisers going out, which again, that's their choice, not something we're asking, but I would suggest you put 30 days or more and with an option with the coronavirus addendum to extend if you need to. Same with closing timelines. The contracts I got last week were fascinating. They had 25, 30-day closes. I don't know how that's possible. I've warned our sellers that there's possibly going to be an extension. I don't see these timelines being realistic in the environment that we're in. So be aware of that. I mean, write a 45-day, or make sure you have the 45 with the corners addendum of 30 days more. That gives you 75 days, and then be ready to talk. I mean, if any buyer or seller is playing hardball right now, that is probably not the right thing to do. I would advise your clients to be understanding and understand that the situation that we're in, and we got to work together, or else we won't be able to get through this deal with the transactions together. Sale pendings. What do we do with these transactions that are in flight? Well, the best case scenario you could be in is the one where the transaction's in pending and everything's pretty much done. Anything that physically is required is done, meaning appraisal's already gone out, your inspections are completed, even the sign-off is complete, then you're just taking it to closing. And so the only part you need to manage is really the lender, the buyer, and then also the recording with the e-recording, right, with the county. And this would be perhaps the best situation that you could be in. The big question would be the walkthrough. Did they do the walkthrough or not? Are the buyers willing to wait the walkthrough or not? If they're not, then you might need to decide whether you want to extend or not. Okay, but this assumes that pretty much anything physical is done, then you can take it to closing. Very straightforward. Transactions in pending that require physical activity, this is where it gets a little trickier. For example, let's say you just got a contract, you haven't had inspections done yet, the appraiser has not gone out, you haven't done your walkthrough, you still have a mobile notary needs to come out, you still need to hand the key off. Now, not all these things are the end of the world. I'm not sure. I believe inspectors might be exempt. I'm not confident in that, but the inspectors that I've called, they are still working. So I don't know if they're supposed to be or not, but they are still working based on the ones I called. So if there's a combo box up over there, you can still get your inspections done. Hold on a second, little internet stability issue here. Okay, if the inspections, if there's a combo box, then just send them to use a combo box and let them in and let them do their job as long as the sellers are okay with it. If you have an owner-occupied property, make sure you get the seller's permission because they may not like anyone in their house right now. And you may not want that liability, okay? If it's vacant, that's a lot easier, but use the combo box if the agent has one there, okay? That would be the only way to get this done because you're not supposed to be out there either. Appraisal, same thing. If they're allowed to go out, then yeah, hit the combo box, the super box. But yeah, don't go meeting them out there right now. We're supposed to be at home. Final walkthrough. Again, this is a big question. I don't know how we do this, right? If there's an owner there, maybe they can do a FaceTime and drag us around the house and do some testing. Otherwise, I mean, either you delay the closing until we can actually walk through it, or the buyer can decide to waive the walkthrough, and that's completely up to you and how you want to do this. They're doing that as well. So delay the close throw, but that decision is up to the buyer. As I stated, mobile notary with the healthcare questionnaire seems to be okay for now. And the key handoff, again, I mean, we can't go out there, so just you might have to give them the combo key at the end if the buyers need to move in or do something to that effect. We can schedule that or tell them the code whenever they're allowed to go out on that front. So again, lots to manage. It's tricky. Not saying it's impossible, but it is. There's a lot to manage and expect delays. Wiring funds to the title company. This is some advice for you, realtors. First and foremost, if you're the type that does not get paperwork into the office, do not use this. You need to get your paperwork in first, okay? Otherwise, you will have your office manager and staff, MCAs chasing you down. But if you're the type that does get your paperwork in before, then you're good to go. You can ask the title company to wire you the funds. You don't have to go pick up a physical check. They will ask you for your routing number information and into a secure email. Make sure you request a secure email for safety, or they might do it through an e-signature document. Don't send it through regular email. That's very dangerous. Okay. Remember, get your paperwork in. All right. There's not an excuse for you to skimp on your file. We need those files complete. But that's a way to solve the picking up a check or mailing a problem. Okay, let's talk about home sellers. If you represent a home seller or you are a home seller, things got very complicated in the last 2 weeks. talk about scenarios. If your home is already on the market, gets extremely tricky. If your house was already on the market and you did have an open house, you did have people come in and see your house, it might be okay to leave the house on the market for a little while, just in case there's somebody out there that's still kind of thinking about your house. I called last night with the client, same thing. He looked at the house a couple times before the shelter in place, and he kind of likes it, so he's going to make an offer on it. So there are still those people out there that were kind of on the fence, and for a certain price, they might still go. So you might want to leave it on for a little while longer. We're all running out of time. I mean, shelter in place, we're running out of time as far as people being able to actually physically see it. If you're seeing no traction at all in your house and you followed up with all the leads and no one's interested, you have to decide that with your seller, because you're not allowed to do open houses. You're not allowed to show it. So you need to decide with the seller, does it really make sense to be on the market or not? If you're listing your home, I would really caution you on this. And the reason for that is, let me talk about home buyer needs. I've been doing this for 17 years. And let me tell you, this is not like going on Amazon and buying a jumpy house for your kids that you don't care if they're destroyed, right? I mean, this is a $1.52 million purchase, or 1.1 million, right? If you talk about median price, buyers need to see the home unless they're an investor, all cash, and they don't care. But majority of home buyers, if your target are regular home buyers, they need to go in, they need to touch it, they need to open the drawers. The 3D tour is not enough. Trust me, every time the 3D tour is up, it's just too difficult to buy a house of this magnitude, this price, without seeing the home. So just bear that in mind. Again, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is very, very, very difficult. And I mentioned this earlier, the MLS, as of last week, has canceled the ability for us to schedule open houses because we're not supposed to be having them. They're too dangerous, right, for the public safety. So that ability has been turned off. So you really are, if you're listing a home right now, you're selling it just like as if there was a tenant that didn't want you to show the house. You guys know those properties, right? The write an offer subject to inspection. That's pretty much the kind of offer you're writing, that you're going to be getting. And we all know how strong those offers are, right? Somebody comes in, nope, I hate it, and they cancel. So be careful. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible. Set your seller's expectation that it's going to be a quality play, not a quantity play. And also, it's all about, you're kind of playing for that all cash buyer, right? Who doesn't care about seeing, just take it any way, shape, or form. Again, a quality play, not a quantity play, right? And so something to think about on that front if you are planning to list the property. Most of you saw this letter come in from the MLS about stopping the days on market, which I think was a great move, excellent move from the MLS listings group. Basically, any listing that is active will be stop accruing that days on market on March 17th. Why is this important? Those of you in real estate know that days on market is actually a negative impact. The longer your property is on the market, the more stale it gets. So you want that to be as low as possible. Now that they stop the clock, that's great. Then anything active, the days on market stops is excellent. Basically, if you did have anything accrued before, it'll just stop on the 17th. If you listen on the 7th, then that's basically 10 days on market, right? They also say if you withdrew your listings, then basically after this whole shelter in place, they will mark it as new in Matrix when you return it back to active. That's different. You guys know in the old days, it's the only way to get a withdrawn listing days on market days to zero is to cancel listing altogether, right? Which opens up your clients to a bunch of telemarketers, agents hunting for expired listings, right? So this is great. However, I want to caveat this because I was thinking about leaving a couple of my listings up as well. However, Redfin and Zillow have not implemented this policy just yet. And you guys all know, as much as we love the MLS, buyers are not looking at MLSlistings.com. They're looking on Redfin, Zillow, Trulia, right? So if they're still adding the days on market, and I tested it, by the way, it is still running, then there's really no point for us to be on the market because Redfin and Zillow will make us look stale unless they implement the same system. I have made a request to Redfin to escalate to their management on this topic. I've yet to hear back from Zillow. I'm just one man opening a ticket. I'm not saying I have a lot of power here. So I don't know. They may follow suit, but our sellers have decided to just rest the house at this point because if nobody can see it, can't do open houses, and Redfin and Zillow are going to keep adding days on market, then that's really, really bad for us when shelter in place is lifted. Our listing is going to look like it's been on there for 60, 90 days, right? And that would be terrible. So really just telling the sellers right now, why don't we take a pause, regroup. On our side, we're trying to do a little bit of coming soon marketing, just to let people know it's there. The ones that we have do have 3D tours, so we're hoping someone said 3D tour and might be able to do something with that, but the odds are pretty low. Hold on a second. The odds are pretty low. So I want you to be aware of this when you're talking to your sellers. It might be better to just take the house off the market and let it rest until we can actually get out and show homes again. Home buyers. Let's talk about home buyers. First of all, if you have a client that has cash, cash is king once again, unfortunately. Cash solves a lot of problems. Cash, you don't need an appraisal. Cash, you can close in 7 days. Cash, you don't even need a notary, if you guys knew that. You could DocuSign your closing documents. You don't need anything at all. Cash investor could decide not to inspect it. They can decide not to walk through. They can control their own fate. So cash offers are gold. If you have a cash buyer roaming around right now that has the guts to buy a house without seeing it, and they're an investor, they can fix anything, they own a contracting company, and they're willing to sign off the risk that, hey, I'm willing not to inspect it, I'm willing to buy it for a certain price, then this market's for you, right? See what's out there and see what's available, and there might be a seller willing to deal. I would just obviously protect yourself as agents, right? Sign the inspection waiver, sign the verification property waiver, make sure you protect yourself on that front, okay? Hey, if your buyer has or your buyer saw a house last couple weekends and is still sitting on the market, and they actually like it, then it's a potential for them to get a deal, okay? Because I'm seeing a lot of sellers just take the cash offer right now. They don't want to deal with the loans, and it's hard to blame them. Now, if you have to write a standard loan offer, like most of us do, I mentioned this earlier, I would go 45 days close or more. Coronavirus addendum, get that additional 30 days or some equivalent of a coronavirus addendum. Get more time on the contingencies. I mean, get more time. The inspectors if they're still working, they might be able to get it done, but if they're not working, then you might have less to choose from. Also, make sure you have that at least 30 days on the appraisal and the loan. I don't know. You have to ask the loan agent how much time do they need to get this through the pipeline. Reserve more time. I mentioned the appraisal risk already, and I mentioned the inspection risk as well. Things are changing every day, so I don't know. It may come a day where they lock down those two groups as well, right? 100%. I don't know, right? So it's better to manage these risks. And I mentioned this buy, sign, and see. I mean, I know there's virtual tours out there. I haven't seen buyers being able to buy a house that way, honestly, unless you're an investor with a construction crew. And then subject to inspections, those are always risky. It's not a real offer, right? Because if it's subject to inspection, until they can see the house, they can back out. That's what subject to inspections mean. But it is what it is. If you're a seller, this is the kind of offer you're probably going to get, unfortunately. That's something to bear in mind. We'll start over. Cutting unnecessary expenses is the key right now. Go through, I'm planning this week and go through 6 months of credit card bills and just see what I can cut, both personally and on the business side. We were on a mastermind call today with and they were talking about people. Until you cut all your expenses that are on there that you don't need, I mean, people should be the last thing, right? I think we need to really, really cut deep on this one. And I'm talking about everything, right? That CRM that you were planning to play with 2 years ago, you haven't done anything with, cut it, right? We have Command. You don't need that. Those $9.99 subscriptions that you have here, and you don't really, right? That's major. It's time to get rid of them if you don't need them. And also, by the way, I know we're going to send an email. Well, we'll send an email later, but as a leadership team at the 2 Keller Williams offices here on the family, we are going to help you as well. We will be sending an email right after this meeting on that topic, okay? And then you need to, once you're done cutting and trimming, you need to look at what's your remaining expenses and what amount that is. Then you need to take whatever reserves that you've set aside in order to just to cover those expenses and do a division, right? So let's say I don't know, let's say you have 50,000 reserves and you have 5,000 a month, then you have quite a bit of runway, right? To last for with your expenses, okay? But if you have very little reserve, then you have a few more months left, then you need to really, I mean, I'm hopeful we'll get out of this, and I know that we will. Just a matter of time. So you'll have to make other arrangements if you're dipping into your reserves, okay? And this is a good lesson for all of us going forward. I mean, as far as expenses are concerned, when you get a paycheck, don't spend it all, right? I mean, don't just buy tickets to the Super Bowl. I mean, a quarter of it should go to taxes. A quarter of it should go to expenses, right? A quarter of it should go to the reserves, and then a quarter you should live on, right? You can flex that to a third if you're not paying yourself a salary, right? But that's how we should run business. And for times like these, that's when you count on your reserves, okay? And then lastly is neglected projects. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Oh gosh, I haven't had time to play with Command. Well, now you got time to play with Command. So there's so many videos online, so we can finally learn this Command system and get our contacts in, use the opportunities pipeline, play with the campaigns, design flyers, so many things. Get smart plans up and running. There's things we could do on Command, and this is the time to do it. I mean, we've got a huge list internally. When I left the office, I had all these papers that I wanted to file. I just grabbed these 2 boxes and I took them home. And I'm going to make my kids file them. I'm going to put them to work. But it's just one of those things where we all have these projects, right? Don't take a vacation. It's not much of a vacation sitting home, a bunch of kids screaming at you. Spend your time wisely, right? Get yourself buttoned up so you gear yourself up for the next market that comes. When we get back in, there's going to be a lot less realtors out there. And some of them might get wiped out by this. We'll have less competition. It's our opportunity to grab our unfair share of the market. Okay, but we'll do that when we have our project set up, ready to go. Some of our operational things that have been bugging us, they want to clean up and we want to get fixed. This is the time to do it. All right, and the last thing is be safe, everybody, and we will overcome this. This will pass. I mean, this will pass. It's not the end of the world. It's a virus. There's going to be eventually vaccines put on. It's going to hurt a little bit in the short run, but as long as we position ourselves for the long run, we will be fine.